to share?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome back, everybody, to the weekly Holistic Actions and Power Hour with our special guest tonight that Dr. Christina will introduce. So take it away, Dr. Christina.
So I love Dr. Melissa Shelton. She has the most energy of almost anybody I know. She graduated in 1999 from the University of Minnesota. And shortly, a few years after that, opened the clinic she still has now, the Crow River Animal Hospital. But in 2008, she became enamored with essential oils, and that's been her passion ever since. And so she is a lecturer. She speaks at conferences, and like me, for anybody who wants to listen, basically. And she's also written books and written for other people's books and other media like the Integrative Veterinary Care Journal. So add anything else you want, Melissa, and take it away. I'm very excited.
Awesome, thank you. All right, I see, cool, I see little chats coming in, so I might write little notes as I go through too, and we'll make sure what I cover. All right, I'm gonna try the sharing the screen thing. And I'll just start with like a little basic presentation of stuff. And let me see if I can move this over again. Okay, because there's a few things that I always feel like I should cover for everyone. And so can everybody see the slides, right? Perfect, okay. So, you know, there's always a few questions that I think everybody asks whether they've been using oils for a long time or not. So I want to make sure I cover all of those. So this is going to be definitely about Animalio, but about oils in general too, and how I use them for an entire household. So, oops, my thing's beeping at me like it doesn't want to advance. Oh, okay, it wants me to click it. So I am Melissa Shelton. I graduated from University of Minnesota in '99. And then in 2008, I got really interested in essential oils, mostly for my human family. And then you kind of figure out that there are people using them for animals. You wonder if that's going to, is it going to work? What do you hear from them? And so it really started to spark my interest in using essential oils with animals, and I wanted more information about it. The CA behind my DVM there is certified aromatherapist. So that is in human aromatherapy. But I think right now that's probably there's a couple different certification courses in animals, but they don't actually cover all animals. So I don't really believe there's a certification course that's adequate for like veterinary care right now. I think the human market gets it a little bit more. So in 2008, I started to use essential oils more aggressively. I would say I'd always kind of used them somewhat, but once I had my own human children, then I started to use them a lot. And then people figured out, oh, you're a vet, and I want to come to you so we can use oils in my animals too. So that kind of started my road. I did start there with Young Living. So a lot of people know that that's kind of part of my history. And what ended up happening with that is after a few years, you figure out that the quality was not exactly what I needed for veterinary medicine. We started to have some problems with it, and I said, what do I do? So in 2014, basically in 2013, I left that association. I wasn't not like their employee or their veterinarian. I was just a basic user, just like everyone else, but I had become very well known, let's say. So in 2014, I started Animalio because I still needed an avenue. Loved to send. I was teaching it worldwide, wrote books about it, but didn't feel like I had a source that I could recommend. And one of the questions that I saw pop up in the chat was, how are doTERRA's oils? So I'll cover just kind of that really quick altogether, because I really feel like essential oils are kind of becoming kind of McDonaldized. So we have millions and millions of people using essential oils. and it's very marketable, and it's very advertised and promoted. And unfortunately, I think um, it, marketing is getting in the way of high quality. So when I think about driving through a McDonald's drive-through, I think of, you know, lettuce that probably doesn't wilt very easily, tomatoes that are very, you know, particular. It's fast food. So a lot of these big companies like Doterra, like Young Living, are supplying to the millions. It is going to be really similar to going to a fast food restaurant. When you get boutique oils, is what I would call them. I sometimes can only order very small volumes of oils that I find are the best. And I relate that a lot to like a restaurant. It's homemade food. It's homemade bread. You know, you're not just getting a sandwich on Wonder Bread. You've got something very beautiful in an artisan type of restaurant. So I feel that the essential oils we use for animals really do need to kind of emulate that quality and that personal relationship. And I'm just going to try taking out one of my earbuds here too. Oh, that feels better. I feel like I'm in a can right now, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go one. Do you still hear me well though? Good. Okay. Now I'm canless. So the important in why essential oil quality needs to be so important though too is that 60% of homes have pets in them, animals of some sort. So with this mass population of people who were using essential oils, it was a great database for me. You know, I had hundreds of thousands of people to draw information from. So I learned a lot. It was a fabulous stepping stone, I would say, along the way. Of course, they don't appreciate that when you do leave. So you may find a couple different varieties of stories of why I left. But the truth of it all is my name and reputation was behind what I was teaching and recommending. And when I found that that couldn't be honored, I was kind of scared and wanted to make sure that if I'm recommending something for your animal, I really do feel confident in the fact that you know it is safe, it is a good recommendation, and you're not going to injure an animal. So the quality for animals, it has to be higher than for humans. We can do so much, like, see, I color my hair, do all these weird things, wear makeup, perfume, whatever you do. I don't wear perfume, I can't. But these are all things that humans can tolerate. Animals can't. If you sprayed your cat with perfume, you really wouldn't question why that was a bad idea or why they were now salivating or something. So the quality for animals actually have to be a lot higher than for humans, which means then so of course I use all of the animal oils for myself and my family too, because why wouldn't I want the highest quality oils for myself? I wanted to cover the most common questions then that come up about oils and animals and what we hear constantly. One, you know, cats can't use oils. That's probably one of the most common things. They can use oils. They are, it's all dose dependent. I wouldn't say any veterinarian would argue the fact that you know that drugs are different for cats than they are for dogs. And so we'll hear lots of different things. Asthmatics too. Oh, I can't use oils. I have an asthmatic in the house. I'm going to be using homeopathy. I can't use oils at all with that. Or, you know, bug control, we'll cover that a little bit because that's one of the most common requests for things. And then, you know, just that they're unsafe in general. There's certain ones, but it is really truly about quality and dose. So we'll kind of go through some of those things. And let's see if I can make this happy. Okay. And I have stuff in front of, there we go. Woo-hoo. I don't know if you guys get to see my bars and stuff, but I'm trying to move things so I can see my screen. Okay, so cats and oils, the quality affects what the toxic dose will end up being. So if I get a low quality essential oil or an oxidized essential oil, it now has a lower dose required to become toxic to the cat. And that's a very important factor to consider, because there is standardization, there's no regulations on essential oils. So when somebody says they're therapeutic grade or they're medical grade, or even mine say they're veterinary grade, it really means absolutely nothing. Mine say they're veterinary grade because I'm a veterinarian and I pick them. It's what I would use in my veterinary hospital. So it's just a word. It's not regulated. It's not regulated by the FDA. We don't want it to become regulated by the FDA. My whole goal is that we say that essential oils are supportive of the body. They don't cure something. They don't get rid of a lump. Your body gets rid of a lump. Essential oils are there. It's like good nutrition. When we say, let thy food heal you, yeah, we should treat these holistic modalities as our medicines, I think, more so, but we need to be careful of how we phrase them. So the quality will affect the toxic dose. And when you hear a lot of these issues with people saying, oh my gosh, my dog got sick from a diffusion, or my cat was sick, we really need to find out more about that essential oil. How old was it? How long was it in the bottle? How long was it on the shelf? Which company did it come from? Which source did it come from? What's its lot number? So many oils don't have lot numbers on them even. So that's really highly important. And the dose is going to be variable with each species too. So not knowing the correct things for species is really a problem. I did a lot of veterinary monitoring at first, because I really needed to prove to myself that it was safe for my patients, that they were getting responses, I wasn't doing any harm. We started out using oils with animals that were near euthanasia. We didn't have anything to lose. We had everything to gain by trying. Most of them were my own animals at first. And then we start documenting all these just really cool things. So cats are different. And the real truth with cats is they metabolize differently. They're not deficient. We say that all over and over again. Cats are deficient in their liver enzymes. They're P450s, they're da-da-da-da-da. It's not really true. So the problem with the aromatherapy community right now is they don't keep current on veterinary research. And way back in the day, we were taught cats can't have morphine either. And it's still taking over 40 years, I think, to change the whole paradigm of cats can't have morphine to, oh, cats can have morphine. It's actually really great for them, but in like micro doses, and you have to know what you're doing and you have to do it correctly. That's kind of oils for cats. They aren't deficient in enzymes. They're actually just different in enzymes. They do glucosidation instead of glucuronidation. And compared to a cat, we should be ashamed of ourselves. We are deficient. So a cat will do 60% of glucosidation in their liver, where a human does 2%. Oh no, So, and a dog is 34. And then, but when we talk about the other enzymes, it's like reversed. So it's not that a cat can't metabolize it. We haven't figured out how they metabolize it yet. They metabolize a little differently. Yes, it may go a little slower. That's called dosing. So you'll hear me talk a lot about dosing to the lowest effective dose, and also to the time frame that they show us is effective. If I apply an essential oil to a cat and they feel better for 12 hours, my dosing window is now every 12 hours. I want to be cautious with the word dosing sometimes too, because that can imply a medical type of term. So application window would be every 12 hours. Just like me, if I don't feel good and I use an essential oil and I feel better for an hour, I'm putting it on after that hour. So I dose as often as I need to for response. And what I find is that then it starts to lengthen and lengthen. If I have a very severe headache and I put something on my temples or under my tongue, all of a sudden I feel better for 20 minutes. I'm going to repeat it in 20 minutes. I don't want to feel miserable. So it's very similar to that. So we should be ashamed in comparison to cats. We are deficient in glucosidation. Another question that pops up a lot is, oh, but I have an asthmatic, whether it's a human or a cat or whatever in the house. It's a huge misrepresentation. Essential oils can be incredibly helpful for asthmatics. We purposely treat asthmatics all the time with essential oils. And the thing with the wrong essential oil or an old oxidized essential oils, it's a respiratory irritant. So again, it comes down to which oils you have, if they are properly housed, properly used, what dose you're using them at. Some people put tons and tons of drops in their diffuser. That could be too strong for an asthmatic because a strong smell can still initiate an asthmatic response. But overall, we can find huge benefits to using essential oils with asthmatics, whether it's topically or inhaled. And one of my favorite topics to discuss is therapeutic mucus. So when we get the proper quality essential oil and we use it properly, when you're inhaling essential oils, it actually coats the mucus in your respiratory tract. And that will, as you inhale it, it goes down once, and the essential oils will touch the respiratory tract. Then it sticks into the mucus that's normal in your respiratory tract, and your little cilia, make sure my hands show, your little cilia bring the mucus back up again, and you'll swallow it. I know that sounds gross, but that coats the airway again. So you actually get like a second pass of essential oils. You inhale them once, your cilia brings them back up again, it coats it again, and then you swallow them and you get a small amount of an ingestion as well. So diffusion can be very, very powerful. It can create that therapeutic mucus that for a dog with a collapsing trachea, for a dog with laryngeal paralysis, for a cat with asthma, that can be incredibly helpful. And it can be used right alongside of all of our other drugs. We have not witnessed any interactions, abnormal interactions when used properly. We're going to state that because that's the kicker. Anything in overdose can be a problem. And that's where most of the cat data on being scared of cats is. Also, when I actually did a research review on it, it's all in massive overdoses and in single constituent use. When we separate out a constituent, it can become more toxic now because it's alone. And we don't know how to use it, and it can be more of an irritant. So then there's always some concern too, like, oh my gosh, I put a dog blend on my dog and my cat likes to lay with my dog. That's totally fine. Your cat is selecting to be very near something strong. And if you've ever seen an animal select to not be near something strong smelling, then you'll know. I mean, obviously, if the cat wants to go up to your dog and lick it after it has an essential oil application, or they want to lick you, they are selecting to be exposed to that amount, and it's not too much for them, I find. So that I don't freak out about at all. If you are penning your dog into something very small, like we will purposely use diffusion as kind of a therapeutic method, like a nebulizer, and I will then kind of force them to have an exposure and an inhalation of all this mist. That you have to do with a particular amount of care and an amount of knowledge of that essential oil blend. And I'll just state really quick that I do prefer blends versus single essential oil use. I find that it's a lot safer. Most of the reports of people overdoing essential oil use is with single oils. They have just used a whole bunch of lavender. They just use a whole bunch of frankincense or tea tree. Even if you had 3 poor quality essential oils and you mix them together, you have less of each poor quality essential oil. So there are some benefits to blending. So even if you have one of our blends that was intended for your dog and your cat gets near it, I don't have concerns with that. There are very limited situations where we will purposely apply a dog blend to a cat or something, or to a chicken if it didn't get enough response. But for the most part, we're going to not have concern, and we're going to stick dog blends to dogs and humans. And for most humans, also, I treat myself like I'm kind of a big dog. So if you see big dog recommendations, just say woof and you're good. This is a common thing I think people get caught up in, is symptom support. People tend to get tunnel vision, and you focus in on, my dog has diarrhea. And so you're going to pick a GI blend. But why does your dog have diarrhea? Or, it's not wrong to capture a symptom. But like when I have a headache or something, I go, okay, I can use something to help my headache, but I also want to support my entire body because maybe it's a virus starting to pop up, or maybe there's something else going on. So I always look at it as you want to support the entire body along with that symptom control. So one called GI Joe, and that's for GI support. Now it does wonderful things for lots of other things. It's a great muscle blend, and but I will always kind of encourage somebody to use either an aroma boost or a boost in a bottle to support the whole body along with that. And GI Joe is within those blends because the gastrointestinal system is part of your whole body. But sometimes we need a little more powerful pinpoint impact during the time. So if my horse is colicking, you bet I'm putting GI Joe in their lower lip. But I will also follow that up with a boost in a bottle or an aroma boost. Even though there's GI Joe within those ones, I needed something very specific and heavy hitting for the GI system at the time. And then I needed to support their entire body too, to make sure everything else was covered. This was kind of covered in one of the forum questions a little bit too. And I thought, it's a good one to come up with because I do use, I'm not a homeopath, but I do use homeopathy a lot in my own family and in our clinic. And I've spoken to so many homeopathic vets now, and really we've kind of come to an agreement. There's very few that still are really, against it completely after we can talk more. I still find it very synergistic to use together. Rarely do I just did this the other week because I was feeling kind of punky, and I take the little homeopathy vial for flu, and I'll put that under my tongue, and literally while it's dissolving under my tongue, my husband's doing an aroma boost to my back. It's magic. I feel so much better after. I'll usually take a little nap and do my aroma coma thing, and I wake up and I am completely better. So I do that quite often. Now, I typically won't, rub oils all over my hands and then touch my homeopathy vials. I am particular about, I'm not going to challenge that system too much. But definitely I think the cool part with the veterinary hospital was that we had this opportunity to see animals recovering from anesthesia or whatever that have, there's no placebo effect, I would say, in, really quick. I'm hearing something and I thought, I don't see a little mute thing on somebody. So if you guys are on and you just kind of don't see that you're muted, maybe try muting yourself because I'm hearing some background noise. But I don't see where I can make it happen. Let's see if I can go backwards now. Probably not. So anyway, there's an arrow. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. There we go. Homeopathy oils. So I find that they're very synergistic. With animals, we didn't have a placebo effect. And so if I used a homeopathic and an essential oil on them, we could still see, we still get the both benefits going. I think the people that are the most against it usually haven't used them ever together. And I like to do experiments with myself, with my animals and stuff. So I will still try to space them, but I'm a lazy person. So if I, like I said, I put the homeopathy under my tongue and literally I'm getting an aroma boost at the same time. But that's somebody else applying it, so I'm not super stinky when I'm putting it under my tongue. But I think it's highly synergistic. And I think a lot of them, if it's, I would say that most of my homeopathic friends are coming around to the fact that they think it's quite a great harmony together. Bug control is always huge, and there's so many recipes out there in the world that everybody wants you to make with their essential oils or something. A lot of them are less than stellar. Neem is just such a popular one, and I saw that everywhere too, and it's very smelly. A lot of people will say, yeah, use neem, but don't do it on cats. That's common in a lot of different essential oils, and it's not always correct. But neem is not really recommended for ingestion. So if you think about animals, they lick themselves, and they, even cats especially, but dogs do as well. and it stinks. It just stinks. There are some other preparations we can use of neem, like the teas or something that would be a little bit more amenable to use. But I just find there's so many other essential oils I can use that work better than neem and smell so much better that I don't need it. And then with the essential oil bug control, I find there's a lot of regional differences. So we have 3 different products from, and actually there's more because lots of them have some type of a bug control action. Aroma boosts do. So, if you think about oregano and thyme, bugs don't like that. So if we're applying that to the animal, there's a lot of so many essential oils have a bug repellent property to them because that's what the plant would want to do anyways. So even peppermint, even, a catnip is a huge one for that. So many of the body support blends also just naturally will repel insects as well. So I do a lot. I find that there's regional differences. Like you might be down south in Florida. There might be a blend that your region really, really does well with and repels bugs better. Or maybe you have, like we had a really heavy fly population last year, but not so many mosquitoes. It was a really odd year for Minnesota. Certain oils work better for certain bugs and for certain regions. So I do really find experiment with it, try each 3. That's why we are up to 3 now, is I really wanted to create something a little bit different for each region that would work. And I use a lot of layers. So there's times with my dogs that they might get maybe an essential oil blend misted over them in a water base every time we go outside, or and they're getting Boost in a bottle applied weekly, maybe every other day or something. I might also rub some essential oils onto my hands and pet them, or especially around their ankles, okay, so that I'm preventing those bugs from crawling up on them. Basically, I like to layer enough approaches in that we have less bug problems, so I kind of have to, again, it's using it to effect. I'm going to use the lowest amount of essential oils that I need to for bug control, but I'm going to use as much as I need and as often as I need to control them, as long as my pet is tolerating it well and everything else. But if you're using things with within the recommendations, generally you're going to be pretty safe with that, and it works really well. We haven't used a chemical repellent for a very, very long time, and even Happy Cat is catnip, diluted catnip oil, and that you can rub on yourself and use as a bug repellent too. It's really cool.
Dr. Melissa, just speak a minute. You've mentioned layering several times.
Okay, perfect. So the layering, I'm using essential oils in a couple different methods or different ways. So like I think that my dogs with the bug control is a really good example, because maybe once a week, depending on the dog, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, we're getting an aroma boost application. So if you know anything about our products, an aroma boost is like a 5-part application, and I kind of call that Sunday dinner. So they get their Sunday dinner. It's a bigger event. It's a nice kind of massage event, and they love it. There are a few dogs in this world that are not going to love it. It's okay to have an animal that doesn't love things too. And then we have an Aroma Boost Light, that sometimes the light varieties, it's just a lesser dose. That might be better for a dog that doesn't like it, but my dogs adore it. Although when we have our new puppies right now, I am really finding that all of our light versions are more appropriate for, I honestly really feel like they're becoming more appropriate for almost all animals to start with. And it's just part of that learning process. We're in our 6th year of having products out on the mass market. And I do really feel like the light versions are probably where I would start most animals off the bat. And then only if that wasn't enough for them, we could go to the RTU, means ready to use. And I don't think we ever really need many neat applications at all. There's a very select circumstances where we do that. But so layering might mean I do my aroma boost, and maybe in between those aroma boosts, I might apply a boost in a bottle. It's just a 1-part application to my dogs too. But oh, here come all these mosquitoes and ticks. I might take some neat essential oil in my hands and rub them together and get a little extra on a problem area on my dog or my horse. And I might take a water mist. So if I get a trigger sprayer in a glass bottle, shake it up with water and mist it on the animal, that can be another layer. So the layers is just using multiple types of essential oils, multiple application methods, and find that's just way more effective. So like if my outdoor cats, if I'm worried about, just normal regular flea prevention, it's way different if you have an infestation, but I will, they get Kitty Boost Light applied to them on a regular basis. But now all of a sudden I go, oh, I saw a flea on this stray cat that came into our yard or something. Now I might, do a little bit more. Cats are harder because they don't like a lot of things done to them. But so the layering is just using multiple methods, multiple avenues, maybe something I might, and I've tried different things. Don't be afraid to experiment a little bit when you're within the guidelines of what the instructions are for the product. Don't be afraid to kind of test them out. And you can definitely use multiple products at once. I do that all the time, and I find that that's just a really effective way to get more control. Instead of like, okay, I want to use the Away blend. And if you hyper focus on only using Away, then we kind of limit ourselves a little bit. So, but if I use a little bit of Away in a water mist and a little bit of maybe the Away RTU that's already in coconut oil, or I dilute some of my own, or I put some of the neat blend in my hand and I rub them together and I pet it on my dog. And I'm also having that residual of having Boost in a bottle or Aroma Boost on them as well. Or maybe I might have made up a shampoo with these oils in them as well. So I can add a neat oil into my shampoo and give them a bath with it if they're having a bath. All these layers go in together and create more protection for them. And sometimes I got to play with it a little bit, but it definitely adds, it just adds layers. I'm going to look at my notes here too and just make sure I hit. So one of the questions that was typed in right away in the beginning was if Doterra oils were safe. I think that question is impossible to answer unless you have an oil right in front of you. Okay, so I know one of my good friends is the Doterra vet, and I love her dearly, and I cringe sometimes because I worry that it's gonna come back to bite her. My gut feeling now, just because I've lived it, is that unless I've really truly evaluated that bottle you have in your hands, I don't know what you've got, because the big companies and all companies really, I mean, even when I buy an oil from one of my suppliers, let's say, and it's a new lot, if I know it's a new lot, a new harvest, I still order a smaller amount of it and evaluate it before I buy a bigger amount. We've had that even with Melissa oil. There was one year the harvest was so strong. It was an intense year. If the plants experience certain stresses, if the distillation has a slightly different technique to it. I got in this Melissa essential oil and I went, whoa, I mean, it's so strong. It's like double the strength. Like, it's so intense. And I said, I need to put a little less in some of these blends of that particular batch. So it's kind of like cooking too. Sometimes you need a little more salt. Sometimes you need a little less salt. I don't feel comfortable with any company, no matter what kind of pitch they sell you, unless you have a very experienced, and I dread saying animal aromatherapist, because I think some of them are not very experienced, either a veterinarian who has been skilled. Some human aromatherapists can get it down, but I think they have a little different level of quality that they'll accept. But to me, that's what I've been trying to teach veterinary students, is organoleptics. How can you compare 5 different essential oils with each other and detect which one's a little off, which one's oxidized, which one feels good to you, which one kind of makes your nose hurt when you inhale it. You need to practice those skills, because it's kind of like smelling milk in your fridge. everybody smells their milk before you drink it pretty much, even if the expiration date says it's okay, right? And you learn to detect when it's slightly off. Or we look at our bread, look at some bread for mold. Essential oils are really the same. You should really develop a relationship with them and a unique skill to evaluate them. And the more you can evaluate side by side, the better you get at it. And so that's where we need to be with the skill. So I really feel like these, especially in these big supply companies, big supply, even, plant therapy is getting bigger and bigger. Doterra, Young Living, a Mayo. There's essential oils are hot. It's a bandwagon item. And now you see, they're just putting out so many. I don't know if I would ever feel comfortable that lot, they're turning over oils very often, let's say. I don't know that the oil I have in my bottle is the same one you have in your next bottle, to make sure. So if you are working with an experienced veterinarian, you should bring in your essential oil bottle and say, hey, can you evaluate this oil for me? With a lot of training, I definitely get to the point where I can smell an essential oil bottle and I go, whoa, that smells off. It hurts my nose. It made my, temple kind of, you want to listen to that. That's not just you being like, oh yeah, I can't walk through the fabric softener aisle without trying to run with my, holding my breath. You got to honor that with essential oils too. You got to look at it and smell it. And so I would say, I never feel comfortable saying another essential oil company is okay to use unless I've held your bottle in my hand. So that's the only way I can do it. And that's why I started our company, is because that's the only way I can ensure that I've held your bottle in my hand. I literally blend every bottle. And that's something I would never compromise my name and reputation on, is to be, we've definitely had to throw away essential oils. If we didn't use them fast enough and I thought they were a little oxidized, they don't get used. They're not going to go in your bottle. That's for sure. So I think if you, and then I had another question in my group that came up about sensitization. I think that's a good one to kind of cover too. So I'll do that one, and then maybe we can open it up for basic questions. Okay, so sensitization, we're going to talk about it in humans. I have not documented it in an animal. Sensitization is kind of related to like poison ivy, okay? You get sensitized to it, and then your body overreacts. There are a lot of human aromatherapists in this world that have sensitization, even some very, very famous ones, and they avoid those essential oils almost for the rest of their life. I try to take precautions. I probably don't do it well enough for myself either, of not touching certain essential oils are more likely to sensitize you, like your, cinnamons, tea tree. Once you are sensitized, your body is hyperreactive to those oils. So it could become a problem for somebody to even touch a blend with a cinnamon in it if they're sensitized to cinnamon. I don't have a great answer for people on if you are already sensitized. I have heard of some people getting over it with a lot of time, but your best recommendation is to try to avoid the essential oil you are sensitized to, I believe, at this time. Some people can just wear gloves, and that's fine. If you're just not ingesting it, you're fine. It depends on your level of sensitization and where your body tends to focus on it. It's a horrible thing. And the problem too is that oxidized oils, so older oils or poor quality oils, do increase your risk of sensitization. Also, more intensive neat use. So neat use is undiluted use of the oils. You're constantly overexposing yourself to high levels of essential oils. So that's where I'm at more risk, because I'm blending. And so I'm using neat oils all the time. And I'm not the cleanest person ever. So I do spill them sometimes and on myself, and I'm like, oh no, so even on my pants or something like that, where it's not a gloved hand, or I don't have a great answer for that. I think that would be a good one too. Like if you are sensitized, post a question in my Animalio group too, and maybe we can kind of try to discuss it a little bit more about different ones and like how severe, how sensitive you are to it. But that's a tough one, and I hope I never ever become sensitized. And I do try to take precautions with certain essential oils. So, should we see if there's other questions?
Yes, let's do some questions. So a couple of these are addressing, I think the answer is they need to consult with somebody. So Joanne asked about, well, actually, she wasn't asking for a treatment for seizure, but if animals have seizures or neurological problems or serious chronic diseases that you may be treating in other ways, and then you want to prevent fleas, or there's a mild GI issue, is it safe to use essential oils when animals have other chronic diseases? She's been avoiding essential oils because her cat has seizures or dog has seizures.
Okay. Yeah, so the cool part, you know, I'll never say we treat seizures with essential oils, but I find that we can support the animal actually with the proper essential oils. We do have kind of a cool, many times now we've had, we have a gal in our group that has a seizure detection dog who started to develop his own seizures. And so she wanted also to support him. And we said, you know, okay, we have a few, it's basically neurologic support, right? I mean, just like we would pick special foods for a seizure animal, we don't say, oh, you might never ever need to treat these seizures, or you don't need traditional care or medicine. No, we say, but boy, let's get you on a good diet. Let's reduce our exposures to toxic chemicals, right? If you do have a seizure animal, I certainly don't want you on the chemical flea and tick control or using perfumes and things like that. So all of these recommendations kind of go hand in hand. Now, because that's my focus in my whole career, is now trying to use them kind of medically within veterinary medicine. There are benefits to them, whether if it's just calming, that can help a seizure animal or a human. And so this gal that was trying to support her dog from seizures actually started to support herself too, just by a byproduct. And so it's always very fun for me to have a human who can speak on that and say, oh my gosh, I was diffusing neurobalance, right? And I'm not saying neurobalance treats seizures. I'm saying neurobalance balances your nervous system. It's nourishing all of those parts that need nourishment when your nervous system goes through a seizure and it needs to recover, and there's all these problems. So honestly, the correct essential oils can really support a seizure patient, and can be then very effective in bug control for them, because you still need to repel these bugs. You can use essential oils for a seizure patient, and even one on medication, and even, you know, so many reasons. So we're in our 6th year of products being in the public. It was since 2008 that I've used them in my veterinary hospital. So tons of seizure patients, tons of different critical cases, and many different medication types, whether it's for seizures or for chemotherapy or things like that. We always brought essential oils in as a complementary support. And so when used correctly, when the proper essential oils are used in the proper doses, totally, I wholeheartly go, oh yes, if your pet is experiencing seizures, we can do some diffusion. You can have things that are better for your household than like an air freshener or two, you know, so you can still enjoy a lot of the things you want in life when you have a seizure animal. Still prevent bugs on you, still smell nice. I wear them a lot as my own personal kind of fragrance, and knowing that then that's healthy for my animal, which is really nice. But yeah, so again, it's proper quality, proper dosing, proper recommendations, but essential oils can be incredibly supportive and helpful for seizure patients, not only just for bug control, but for their own neurologic support.
Thank you. Another one, Sue asked, what is good to help her sleep? This is for the,
nice. Yep.
you know, again, we're talking about the whole family. So,
yeah. And so, and I didn't get to probably say that completely yet too, that, you know, I use all of these essential oils for myself, knowing then that I'm safe. You know, if they're for my dog and I'm putting it on myself, and then my dog's cuddling with me and in bed, which, you know, my little puppy was sleeping right up with me, I know he's safe. I had an aroma boost that night, and it was cute because he wanted to be a little farther away from me when I was really intense smelling. And then he was like, but I want to snuggle with you. And then he came in closer as the intense smell wore off. For sleeping better, I love diffusion, but I should talk a little bit then about what I referred to a little bit as the aroma coma. My good friend Saskia kind of named it that, and I thought it was the best thing ever. For a long time, we would treat an animal with essential oils or do an application, and they would sleep like really hard afterwards, hard enough for the owner to be worried about them and ask us, like he took like a 4-hour nap after this application, is that okay? And we saw it so routinely that my theory on it is that we have, I actually want to do some cortisol studies, but I think we reduce their stress. There's so many emotional factors to essential oils that we know from research have been proven. So we reduce their stress, we reduce the stress on their body, we reduce their inflammation. Maybe it's the first time they've felt good in a long time, and we take a nap. I do it personally with an aroma boost. So you give me an aroma boost by number 4, I'm usually snoring. I don't snore. My husband says I snore. I don't snore, but I snore. So I am out. Like it's the best thing ever. So I still say try a few different things. If you can try an aroma boost or a boost in a bottle application, if you're just you alone and you don't have a husband that's willing to give you a little massage with them, rub them on the bottom of your feet. We have people that do it on their chest instead. That can be really sleep inducing for some people. Diffusion, and there are odd, I would say every now and then I hit on an essential oil blend that I thought it was going to be a pick-me-up, right? Like Gingerbread Dream or Rose Rainy is one of our blends that I love to sleep with that diffuser running. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because to me it smells like a very uplifting blend, but boy, do I sleep fabulously with it. There's our classic calming blends that you could diffuse and try, chamomile, but I find that it's very individualized, because the reason you may not sleep might be different than the reason I don't sleep. And so I really believe in rotating through a lot of different blends. We sell sample sizes of every single blend that we have, so you can always try it. And there's like over a half a mil in each sample. You got enough to try diffusion for several nights in a row to see if it hits for you. So, and even for me, I think my poor husband, my brain is always going like, you know, and he's like, okay, you know, so he's figured out a little routine for me too. He's like, oh, honey, I think he's being nice to me. He just wants to go to sleep. And he's like, let's rub your feet with chamomile. Yeah. You know, and it's becoming, hey, let me tell you, I'll pretend like I'm going to stay up all night just to make him massage my feet. So there's definitely little things, tips and tricks you can try and stuff, but, or like restless leg syndrome. Sometimes I probably had caffeine too late in the day or something like that. And so a massage on my legs with some chamomile RTU, that's the ready to use version, is just like heaven to me. And I just won't go right out. It's like a post massage. So there's tons of different options. I find diffusion is nice just because you can have that exposure to it all night long, kind of, and you're just inhaling it and calming everything down. So try a couple different things, but yeah, you'll find another resource for everybody who's on the call here too is that I have the Animalio Facebook group, And we literally have 6 years of banked information in there too. So if you're just like, sleeplessness or something, you search the group for that, you can kind of find what a lot of other people have used or said, or discussions we've had before, really long ones. So.
And that's also really good in terms of which oils to use for which bugs in which locale for which year, because you can find out what success other people are having there. I think the most common question that people are having, other than what's specific for what, is how long can you keep the oils? You spoke about not keeping them too long, and I'm sure that has to do with the quality. And how can you tell if your oil has been kept too long or your oil has gotten bad if you don't live next door to Crow River Animal Hospital to bring it by and have you smell it?
Yeah, I would say industry standard for expiration dates are about 3 years. Now, most essential oils are going to last longer than that. Citrus oils are going to have a shorter lifespan, and the way we house them and the way we store them are obviously going to have an effect too. So citrus oils we store in our refrigerator until they're used. I used to keep them on the shelf all the time, but in our business, of course, we want them to be as fresh as possible and last as long as possible. Getting used to your oils, you should smell them every time you use them. You will learn eventually. It's just like smelling your milk. How do you know when this milk doesn't smell normal? You'll know. And all of a sudden it changes. And so if you always are smelling your essential oils, you will get very familiar with what normal is. And then you'll all of a sudden detect, oh gosh, that, like, I find lime oil to me is one that goes off. And usually you'll train your nose more and more. I can usually detect that it's off before other people can. And it just has this kind of sour note to it. And so now when I do teach the veterinary schools, I bring along bad oils too. I bring along spoiled oils and really old and oxidized ones. And I said, okay, here's your bar, smell them. So that's what hopefully we'll be able to do too, is teach a lot more organoleptics. That's that art of smelling them. So I would say the majority of your oils, and of course, if you're ordering through us, you're going to know that you're getting them very fresh. We bottle so that we don't really have them on the shelf for more than 1 to 3 months at a time. You're getting them very fresh out the door. And I always tell people, I go, if you can plan to use them within 3 years, that's ideal. But smell them before each use. The other thing that I think that's a safety issue, we have a lot of people that have mixed up the top of their caps. And, all of a sudden they picked up one that said Kitty Boost on the top, but it was open air on the bottom. And if you would smell it, you'd be like, wow, that's kind of cinnamony. That's not what Kitty Boost smells like. And then you can tell, I picked up the wrong bottle. I put the wrong cap on something. Or occasionally the labels are close in color, or you're colorblind. When I started to design our labels, I asked my stepdad, who's colorblind, I said, can you tell these apart? And he goes, well, I can't really tell what color they are, but I can tell they're different. And so I actually picked certain colors of the labels because he could just tell that they were different. Read, always look at the label, always read it, but always smell it, and smell it with both nostrils. You do smell differently with different nostrils. I've had people complain up and down that, I got this blend again and it smells completely different to me. And I thought, wow, okay, let me go back in my banks and I'll, we have libraries of our oils and stuff too. Or sometimes I'll have them send them back to me. I'm like, okay, send me that one or I can look in our logs. We log everything. I know exactly which lot everything is blended from. I'll tell you then about GCs on there too, because some of our blends have like 15 different oils in them. It would be a nightmare for me to provide a GC for every oil that's within a blend.
So now what if they had not been opened? What if the bottles are unopened? Longer than 3 years for that?
Yeah, for the most part. If it's a citrus oil or some of the very light oils, tea tree and frankincense loves to kind of start to permeate through plastic. If you ever see the top of your bottle label looking distorted or the top of the plastic looking distorted, do not use that. It's eaten through the plastic. So tea tree, frankincense, and some of the citrus oils like to degrade and eat through plastics a lot faster. If it's eaten through the plastic, it's in there.
And you mentioned coconut oil as a carrier. What about other oils for carriers? Grapeseed oil, any neutral oil?
Yep. So I feel like coconut oil is the best for fur and the feel. So as you put it on the animal, it doesn't get as clumpy and greasy. Like a lot of people will be like, olive oil, it's edible, it's great. It likes to get on your couch a lot. Same with like the grapeseed oil. Handling, I don't find it's very fun. I'm also very, very aware then of the fact that we have therapy animals going out into the world. And if you had one of the blends on a therapy animal and say it had somebody had a nut allergy and you had a blend that was created in a nut, something that somebody could be allergic to. It's a safety concern. So when it's the fractionated coconut oil, we've actually had there's an awesome veterinarian that's in the holistic world, and she's allergic to coconut, like highly allergic to coconut. And she's like, let me try this, the MCT or the fractionated coconut oil. She's rubbing it all over her lips, and I'm thinking, she's gonna kill herself. But she says, no, she can't even use like anything that would have a raw coconut oil in it. She can't use it all. And she goes, nope, not even tingling, no problems at all. So I feel very safe with the coconut oil we blend with is far different than a raw coconut oil. It basically has been refined and it has the parts extracted from it that most people would be allergic to. That's why it doesn't smell like coconut anymore. And so I do feel like that's probably one of the safest carriers we can use right now for mass use. But I do find like all the other there's so many carrier oils, as long as it's edible, and you have a good consideration over if it's a proper oil for your species. But honestly, I find that they get on, they leave oil stains on couches and things like that a lot more often. So that's why I don't favor other carrier oils as much.
And I want to thank you for checking our forum. And I know maybe you'll check it a little bit over the next week or two. So those of you who are gold members or those who have signed up to be a gold member for the next week, check the forum, post your questions. If you're a bronze member, you can read the forum and see what other people are posting and the answers. And then 2 quick questions, got to be really quick because we're almost done, is would you recommend taking a Ruma boost if you live in Washington State and there have just been 6 corona cases diagnosed?
Yeah. Okay. So I was waiting for that. Yes. I mean, most definitely I would, with the coronavirus scare, and I was just buying paper towels in Target today and they were like, yeah, we're extending the sale because of the coronavirus. And I thought, wow, okay, everybody wants paper towels. Yes, for myself, I would probably be doing, so Boost in a Bottle has a slightly different constituent of Melissa essential oil. Melissa essential oil is a very highly antiviral oil. And so Boost in a Bottle has that. And you can bet, so I have to fly next week. And I was considering it. I thought, gosh, am I going to wear a mask on the plane and, that kind of stuff? And I might, because I just don't want to, I just don't need to be in a plane getting sick anyways. I've got a lot to do. But Boost in a Bottle would probably be one of my biggest preferences because it has the Melissa essential oil in it. And if I was starting to feel ill at all, I would be doing the Aroma Boost at night and applying Boost in a Bottle on my neck and chest. And I will probably end up actually coating my mask with the essential oils too, because then as I'm inhaling them in, I have a nice diffuser, but it's kind of like an extra filter, I feel like. Almost every essential oil has a slight bit of antiviral properties, but some of them have very, very high antiviral properties. So I would be diffusing in my home all the time. You can rotate through several, but Exhale is one that's really high in Melissa essential oil as well, which is going to be a very high antiviral blend. And again, it's about those layers, right? Would I just rely on Aroma Boost if I really thought my neighbor had coronavirus or something? Or, you know, even I always, when people would say, oh, should I come in for my vet appointment? My kid has the flu. I'm like, come on in, you know, like, what am I going to like live in fear all my life? But for sure, my whole family would get an Aroma Boost that night or something. If I'm like, we just had somebody in the house that had the flu. I mix essential oils into all my cleaners. On our website, we have natural cleaning recipes that you can add essential oils into. You don't have to use just the essential oil. You know, we have a Bright and Clean and a Citrus Clean that are kind of intended to be very functional for cleaner, economical. I put Oust in it the other day because I'm like, I just like the smell of it. That's going to be cool. I could put Exhale in there if I wanted that. So we can do a lot of different things, but it's those layers. And certainly, I mean, if I thought it was right next door to me or something, I would be rubbing it on my neck, on my chest, twice a day, 3 times a day, as much as I like. It smells wonderful. Most people, it's really funny when you start and like Kitty Boost is one that people go, I wear that as my perfume. How many people will come up to you and say how good you smell? But tons of different antiviral options in there. But I would definitely do diffusion. I would definitely be applying to myself. I would make up my own hand sanitizer. There's natural recipes with that. Put essential oils in there instead of all these toxic chemicals that don't really help you maintain your immune system. And I think that's the beauty of essential oils is they're supporting. There it says it's 9. It really supports your immune system. Yeah, it supports your immune system instead of just, you know, it's supposed to be antiviral. Well, essential oils do the whole support. They're supporting your natural body's immune system. Even if they have an antiviral property, they have an antibacterial property. So yeah, I would be doing that quite a bit.
Wonderful. So listen, thank you so much, Dr. Melissa Shelton. This was just wonderful. And we know we'll have you back and learn more and more about essential oils. And I just wanted to check, can people call you if they want to do a consult about a specific condition that their animal has?
That is a good question so I don't do specific one-on-one consults right now. What we prefer people to do is to ask in the Facebook group their question, and of course to search it first, because so many people post very repetitive questions. Now we have over 33,000 people in our Facebook group, and so you can imagine how hard that would be to answer everybody's individual questions. So we ask that we're getting a little more strict with it. You'll get a little picture post that says you didn't do it right. But we ask you to search your topic first and to also list to us what you searched for, because sometimes we just have to refine what you're searching for. So the best way to get a hold of information from me is in that Facebook group, because I do dedicate a lot of time to answering questions directly in there. Certainly, I would say calling is probably your least effective method of getting good quality answers. Facebook is probably our number one. I would say probably emails go next, but we get a lot. I mean, you can imagine if there's 33,000 people in the Facebook group alone, and I get emails from around the world that aren't in our Facebook group too, we get slammed. There's a lot of emails, a lot of calls sometimes, and the calls can be tough because we just don't have the manpower. We have 12 employees, and we don't have the manpower to answer every question, and certainly I don't.
Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah. I just have to show one thing
awesome.
too.
Thank you all for coming.
I have to show you guys my donkey sweatshirt because Megan's watching. Megan, this is for you. Looky, I wore my donkey sweatshirt. I had to make sure I get the donkey in there. That's what these weird ears are this whole time.
And thank you again, Dr. Melissa. Thank you all for coming. That was wonderful. And we'll see you next week for the Gold Member Q&A. You know, we'll be doing our once-a-month Q&A next week. And Dr. Melissa, we hope you come back soon and that we see you on the forum this week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.